I'm 19, and in the last 4 weeks, I've made about $350,000. I want to show you quickly. So, obviously this is going to be blurred, but I think you can see 2005, 31st of December. I'm a New Year's baby. I'm 19, and let me just pull this up quick. So I've got two businesses. My agency did 170,000 in the last 4 weeks. Let me just have that load. That's not factoring in my consulting business, which also did about 160,000 in the last 4 weeks. And I just want to be honest with you and tell you, number one, or how I did it, as a matter of fact, and just tell you the things that you probably didn't expect somebody who makes that amount of money to tell you. Now, the first thing I can tell you, and somebody asked this, I went to my first ever mastermind was actually with Charlie Morgan, very well known in the online space for marketing, agency stuff. And I remember him asking me this question one time, which is, when I was doing about $50,000 a month, I went to his mastermind, and he asked me, how does it feel? And I just said, well, it just feels normal. I just want to hit 100K now. It doesn't really make a difference. And I can tell you that feeling remains true at every fucking level. Right now, I feel as normal as I did, and now I just want $1 million a month, and the goalposts always move. I'm not here to sit there and tell you the obvious, which is goalposts will always move. You'll always want more. But more the fact of, it's kind of weird, the things that happen when you make a lot of money at such a young age, that I almost think it skews your perception of what life should actually be like. So to give you an example of that, what I found to be incredibly true is, when I was 15, 16, I always knew that I was going to make money online. I was hustling, like selling vapes in the school toilets. I went through stages where I was selling drugs, selling weed, all of that stuff, which is very common in the UK, maybe not in other places, but you know, I have a lot of friends that were doing really, really hard drugs, including myself when we were like 14, 15, 16. It's very common. And I found that when I removed myself from that circle, I made the jump when I was 16. So, or 16 or 17, I went from, in the UK, it's secondary school. You leave there when you're about 16, 17, you go to college. You go to college for a couple of years until you're about 18, 19, and then you can either go university, get a degree, whatever the hell you want to do. I got an apprenticeship, and I decided to go to college for the reason that I just wanted to be there as little time as possible and go all in on building an agency, which is where I've made like 70 to 80, if not 90% of the money that I make through my agency, which is doing marketing for local businesses, building AI infrastructure systems, etc., etc. Point being, I found that when I left that, before that, I was very social. I wouldn't say that, I mean, you definitely will go through a period when you decide to go all in where you will be less social. And that's usually the hardest part, where people give up, or they're afraid, because the human brain works in a way where it would rather have something that is familiar and that is safe, even though it is painful, than have something that is unfamiliar, unsafe, without knowing what the outcome is going to be, even though it might be the best, most logical option or path to take. And that's what held me back, and something that triggered me to make this video is, I have a client of mine who asked me yesterday, should I drop out of university? He was asking about this, like this exact thing. It's familiar. And I asked him a few logical questions. Do you have any net benefit of going there? Are you learning anything that is going to drive your income forward? Is there anything that's going to help you make more money? He said no. I said, okay. And if you leave, what would your parents do? Would they kick you out? Would you go homeless? Well, no. Okay, so there is not really any net downside of leaving. The only reason you're not leaving is for the social side of things, and for the fact that you are familiar with it. It is safe. The brain works in terms of familiarity. It wants to be in places that it is familiar with. The minute you put it in an uncomfortable position, a position that it's not familiar with, it will freak the fuck out. That's why it's human nature to fall into bad habits, go back, get back with your ex, go be around the wrong people. Even though you know it's bad, it's familiar. It's safe to the brain. At least the brain knows the outcome of being around those people or being in those circumstances. And for me, the best thing that I ever did was drop out at an early age and decide to invest all of my time, energy, income, even though I barely had any at the time except for selling fucking vapes, into my own education. Like the school system now is just so fucking flawed. It's just such a waste of time, in my personal opinion. I just don't know why anybody would go through it. So if you're somebody like that is considering dropping out, I would absolutely say so. You know, the only reason you wouldn't is because you have an inability to trust yourself. You have no proof. It's not like you can go to your parents or go to yourself and go, oh, well, I made $1 million last week, so I'm just going to drop out of high school. You can't do that. You've got to have faith in the vision that you have in your head. You know, if you're even considering making the jump, or considering going all in on building a business, whatever venture you want to do, there's so many ways to make money online now. You've got fucking selling AI porn stars, marketing, like there's just so many, it's ridiculous. And all of them work. Like there's not really any that are like better than the other. They all fucking work. But the only one that will work is one you go all in on. Because you can have anything in this life. You can't have everything though. You've got to pick your poison wisely. And I made this mistake. I tried starting like a drop shipping store. I tried selling the vape thing. I tried turning it online. I actually, funny story, I made a TikTok. I sold a vape for a 40,000 follower TikTok account that blew up, and I built like a vape store online. And I remember this time where one of my reels or one of my, whatever the fuck they call them on TikTok, it blew up, and I had to fulfill on like 30 vape orders online, completely illegally, by the way. And I was like hand packaging this shit. And I went to the local post office, packaged them up, all handwritten labels on the packages, and they were asking what they were, and I had to just lie and say it was fidget spinners. Point being, go all in, man. Like, that's my first point. And again, there is really no set agenda for this video, except for just giving you advice that I wish I had at the time, that I could tell my past self that would have helped me get here sooner, which is the only thing stopping you from making the jump is your ability to trust yourself. There is no proof. The only proof you have, which is only in your head, is the vision. The only reason you would even consider doing something like that or going all in on building a business is because you can see a vision in your head that is greater than the life that you have now. Your goal is to bridge that gap and turn that vision into reality, into something you can feel, you can touch, you can see, you can show other people. Until you go through that big, long, unsexy grind, the Rocky cutscene of him falling down and getting punched again and again and again, which in the movie only lasts 5 seconds, but in the real world it can last 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years. For me, it lasted like a year or two, where I didn't really make much money. I didn't really have any friends because I had to cut all my friends off, and I had to stop drinking, stop socializing. And can you still do those things while you grow? Absolutely. I went through a period where I did initially, but you're just going to grow a lot slower. And if you've never heard of the crabs in a bucket analogy, when you try and grow, when you and your friends are all associated on the same level, and you try and get levels above those people, by default, and not by any ill intention of theirs, they see you becoming better, and that makes them feel insecure. Okay, you are a direct reflection of other people's insecurities, which, what is that going to lead them to want to do? It's going to lead them to want to pull you down. When I started going to the gym, I was like one of the first people who went to the gym in my friend group. I started getting called gay. So, why are you not coming out? You're boring. You're going to the fucking gym. All of these things. The same applies in business. People will pull you down. And you want to know the funny thing? The people that throw shade at you, the people whose opinions you're afraid of, I encourage you to analyze those people, and I can almost guarantee they are never doing better than you. Every person that pulls you down is below you. Think about it. Somebody that's above you can't pull you down. They pull you up. It's just that, like, it just defies the fucking laws of physics. Somebody above you cannot pull you down. They can only pull you up. That's why you will find that the people that throw shade at you, throw shit at you, that stop you from going all in and doing the thing you know you can do, are usually below you. And the hard thing that you need to come to terms with is sometimes that's going to be people you love, you appreciate, you respect. It's going to be your family. It's going to be your brother. It's going to be your mother. It's going to be your sister. These people that you love so much that want the best for you will often be the people that pull you down. And you know, the hard thing is when you start making more money, there's actually something happens that I could never really expect. I don't think anybody expects. I think people that have made a lot of money can resonate with this, where there's a gap between you and them. And it's kind of like the more that you grow, the less you can resonate with those people. I find it with everybody in my life, to be honest. If I'm not around people that are growing at the same pace as me, which is honestly hard to find, you'll hear Hermosi talk about it, you're going to shed friends and people in your life at every stage. If you're a high performer, if you want to continue to grow, you will shed friends, you will shed family. And I'm not saying I fucking cut everybody off and fuck my family. I'm not saying that whatsoever. I'm just saying that you will relate to them less and less over that period of time. I didn't cut any friends off, to be clear. I stopped associating with people for a certain period of time. And then, you know, when I felt like I was in a position where I was making some money and I wanted to socialize again, number one, I started trying to find people that were already above me, that were on the same wavelength as me. And that's where I started meeting entrepreneurs, investing in masterminds, coaching programs, which was the best thing I ever did. But I didn't intentionally ever cut any friends off. I just found that the more I grew and the more they just stayed in the same place, the bigger the gap was between me and them and the less that I could relate to them on. I no longer wanted to gossip. I no longer wanted to go out and drink every weekend. I no longer wanted to do the drugs. I no longer wanted to do all these negative things in my life that I spent years trying to get away from. And I just found every time that I would go and meet those people again, even though it was incredible to see some of my lifelong friends, there was just a bigger and bigger gap every single time. And it fucking sucks, to be honest, but what can you do? It's just a part of that, and it's something that you need to expect when you go into building a business and growing. That simply put, you will have a very, very, very select handful of people that you will actually stay friends with. At every level in business, I've changed friend groups. I can count on one hand the amount of people that I've stayed friends with. stayed close with, that I still talk to at least once a week. Because that's just how it is when you grow. And if you want to grow really fast, you're going to shed friends really fucking fast. I notice it, like every quarter I get new people in my circle. And that's just what's going to happen if you want to grow really fast. So just be okay with the fact that it is going to feel weird. And number two, people are going to treat you a little bit differently. They absolutely will. And that doesn't mean that they changed. It means that you changed. And usually what they'll say is they'll say, you changed, or you're not like you used to be. I used to get that all the time. I still get it now, but I mean, I think my family, my friends, they're kind of used to it now. The fact that every time they'll see me from like one quarter to the next quarter or every few months, my goal is to become a completely different person. And that shows that I have grown. Now, what they mean when they say you've changed, you're different, you're not as fun as you used to be, is you've grown. I'll be honest, I went on a family vacation. I took my family on a vacation, like my grandparents, my mother, my brother, a friend of mine, because we haven't really been on a family holiday in forever, as long as I can remember. So I wanted to treat everybody, and it was incredible. But I'll never forget that a member of my family, somebody I'm really close with, came to me and said, you're just not as funny anymore. You've changed, you're different. And you know what? Because this person was such a close family member of mine, it fucking hurt. And I actually went to bed thinking about that statement for like the remainder of the holiday. I still think about it now every now and again, where it's like, who am I becoming? Is this the best version of me? Is this actually hurting me more than it's helping me? And after like journaling and reflecting on it, I've just came to terms with the fact that that's okay. It's okay to grow and know that there's going to be less things that you can relate to your family and your friends with. It's okay to the fact that as you make more money, there will be a bigger gap, and people will no longer be able to relate to you. You're not going to be able to resonate and relate to people that make no money anymore, which is usually a lot of people in your family and your friend group. They probably don't. And when you make more money, there will be a bigger gap, and they will stop hanging around with you, and you will want to stop hanging around with them. And that is just a natural part of life. And this is one of those trade-offs that you've got to make. There is, in every decision you make in life, there is a trade-off. Most people only look at the pros of doing things. They never look at the bad things, the cons that could occur with that. And the way that I like to make decisions is I analyze the risks and the benefits. And I simply just didn't know what I didn't know. They call it ignorance debt. You don't know what you don't know. I didn't know that as I grew, I would become almost less close with my family because I could relate with them less. And I found that I got more serious the more that I grew as well. It was harder to please me. It was harder to make me appreciate things in a way because I already had pretty much everything that I wanted, or everything that I want now. I don't really want anything else. I don't give a fuck about the cars. I don't have a fucking watch. I still wear like a $10 vest. I'm literally in fucking Nike shorts, a vest, and a $5 cap that I'm borrowing from my friend. Like, I don't really need anything else. But I realized that before I started this journey, I had hundreds of friends. I was like one of the most popular kids in school. Everybody liked me, but I didn't like myself. And the more that I grew, the more I journaled, the more I reflected as an individual, the more money that I made, the more I realized that the only person's opinion that actually matters on this planet is my own. And that lost me a lot of friends. And it made me way more boring. And it had a big effect on my life. But at least it meant that when I was in a room by myself, I could look in the mirror at myself and be like, you know what? I fucking respect you. I'm proud of you. I know what you're doing, where you're heading, where you're going. And that is, again, the price you pay. If you want high levels of success at a very early and young age, you will have to be okay with these trade-offs, these risks that could occur when you reach the desired outcome, the benefits. These things will more than likely happen to you. I've seen it happen with so many other people that I consult and coach, and people that make a tremendous amount of money. Another thing that you need to prepare for, and again, I know this isn't me selling you on the sexy things of making a lot of money. Another thing you need to prepare for is usually after you make like 10K a month, your quality of life doesn't change, to be frank with you. Now, if you're a super materialistic individual and you get sold by these fucking gurus online, the Lamborghinis, the Rolexes, don't get me wrong, I'm in a fucking nicer part, but I think that doesn't really reflect materialism as per se. But if you're interested in all that stuff, it can absolutely have a tremendous difference on your life. You know, at each level, you can invest in these or buy these things and splurge and fucking flex it. But again, like, who are you trying to please? If you're doing it for yourself, great. But I can tell you, because I've met a lot of these people that you probably look up to online, usually, and this is a bit controversial, but they're usually very insecure. And again, it just goes back to them trying to impress other people because they're afraid of who they are themselves. You've got to see everybody in your life as a mirror. You know, when somebody pulls you down about something, that usually tells you a lot about them. Have you ever had like a fat person shame you for going to the gym, or somebody that makes no money calling you boring for working instead of going out and partying? That's because everybody in your life is a mirror. If they throw shade on you about something, it usually means they're insecure about that thing in their life specific. And that's just something you need to be okay with. You know, you might have heard of this term, which is ignorance is bliss, and I never truly understood it until now. Ignorance is bliss. You know, I have some friends from school that I love to death, incredible people, but some of them aren't that intelligent. I wouldn't even classify myself as intelligent. I would say that I acquired wisdom and experience through time and just getting punched in the face for a prolonged period of time, bottom line. But most of the time, the most ignorant people I know, the arguably the stupidest people I know are the happiest, because they're just so ignorant to what's going on in the world. Like, the less you know, the better. You know, and the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. And I've found that the more money I make, the more I want to work harder. I don't know if that's uncommon. I really don't know, but it actually has had an effect on a number of domains in my life. I barely pay any attention to my love life. And yes, that is absolutely by choice, but I'm okay with that trade-off for now. You know, I'm trying to build generational wealth. I'm trying to change the world. And I know that as a byproduct of that, I need to do abnormal things. You can't do normal things and expect an abnormal, insane result. Insane input generates an insane output. I track everything in my life. I literally set projections every week for my nutrition. I set projections every day on what my intention and my goal is for the day. I reflect on every day. I start every day immediately by meditating and taking creatine and weighing myself. I have an fucking normal life. I have an insane life, very systematized. It's kind of borderline insane, but I signed up for this life. And that's why I think it's important that whenever you do want to start making money online or money in any endeavor or grow in any endeavor, you start with the end in mind. Like, what does the best case scenario look like for you? And you'll come to find that probably when you get there, you'll probably want more. It's pretty normal. But at least if you start with the end in mind, you can make the decision when you get to that end if you want to continue or if you're content with where you are and you want to enjoy the fruits of your labor. I've just found that the more I grow, when I stop growing now, like even when I went on a family vacation for a week, by the end of it, I truly felt miserable. I actually did. You know, I gained some weight. I felt unproductive. I didn't do anything to grow in my health, in my wealth. All I wanted to do was work. And at any moment I could, I would slip away to go and work. I'm just obsessed with this shit. I love it. But that, like, I just want to be clear in saying I didn't start that way. You know, I had to force myself to work. But momentum is the most powerful thing when you are trying to grow. Once you get momentum, do not sabotage your momentum. I'll tell you, the hardest thing about getting a plane off the ground, you know, a plane exerts majority of its energy when it's taking off. And then when it's in the air and it's coasting and it's getting from point A to point B, it doesn't really exert that much energy because it's just coasting, right? The exact same principle applies in business, in life, in whatever domain of life you're trying to grow in. The hardest part is taking off, getting started, making the leap, dropping out of college, telling your family that you're going to go all in on this business that they think you're fucking insane for because they've never heard of AI and they don't believe in it. Like, all of these things happen to me as it will happen to you. But you start gaining momentum, you get punched in the face a lot, and then you start seeing success. And then over a prolonged period of time, come to find that you have proof in the material world of what you once had in here is now here. And that's when people will start to believe you. People don't believe what you say, people believe what they see. And they can't see what's in here. You know, I have big goals and visions for my life, but it's a lot easier for me to get praise now. And people believe me because I've documented everything online. But I'll tell you, the hardest part was me getting the plane off the fucking ground. Because usually that's where you're most scared, you're most afraid. There's too many people's opinions you're taking into consideration. There's too many risks. I encourage you to rationalize what that risk actually is, because for most of you, it probably won't be that bad. What's the worst case? You drop out, you quit your job, doesn't work, you go back to the job. It's not like they're not going to take you again, is it? People overanalyze the risks way too much. Like, if you're not going to die, if you're still going to be breathing, you just got to do it, man. And I'll tell you, if you want to grow in any endeavor of life, usually if you're watching this, it's going to be wealth. You want to make money online. You want to get to 100K a month, 200K a month, whatever it may be. It might even just be 5K a month. Do you know what I hate hearing? And I used to do this all the time. Oh, what's your goal? Oh, yeah, I'd like to do 5K a month. I'd like. You won't hit your goal. I can almost fucking guarantee you will fail. I'd like a lot of things, but I don't get what I like. I get what I must have. You have to be willing to burn the boats. You know, anytime anybody asks me what my goals are, I don't say I'd like. I say I have. I will have. I must have. There is zero chance that I will not get this. There's two options. I get it or I die trying. And you must take this into consideration when you set goals. You have to essentially brainwash yourself to believe that you will have this thing or you already have it. If you've ever heard of the definition of manifestation is shifting internally to a degree in which you are no longer emotionally dependent on seeing reality change to get what you want. In other words, what that means is, if you have it here, in your head, in the vision, if you can imagine it, you already have it somewhere, in another universe, on another reality, whatever you want to call it. Reality just needs to catch up. And as long as every day you take actions in alignment with that vision, you will achieve your goal if you are delusional enough to believe it. And you have to brainwash yourself. I've got to a point now, and again, it's one of those things that when you create momentum, it gets a lot easier. If I set a goal now, I am so confident that I would literally put my life on it. I would put my fucking life on every goal I've said that I will hit. Maybe not on the exact time frame, but I'll fucking hit it. But that confidence didn't come through just magically falling into my lap. It come through building an undeniable stack of self-proof that I am who I say I want to be. I decided who I wanted to be. I acted in alignment with that person for a prolonged period of time. Then family, friends, people started picking up on it. People started saying I changed, I was different. They said I was consistent, I was disciplined. I started getting in the right rooms with the right people. I started investing in being around people that scare me, that have these huge goals that I'm like, holy shit, this person is levels ahead of me. I started then beating those people and leveling up who I was looking up to at each level. And then you realize like this business thing is, like this life thing is all just a big game. It's a game of goals, and goals bring fulfillment. You know, if you look at, I would put so much money on this, if you study the people that are most depressed, most pessimistic about life, they think the world is against them, they murder people, the pedophiles of the world, I can almost guarantee most of them don't have goals. Having a direction or something they want to achieve that they don't yet have brings so much joy and fulfillment. The most directionless I ever was when I got my agency to a point where I was no longer involved in it. I was working an hour a week in it, which I am now, but I've got something else to fill that void, which is License and Scale, where I help other agencies. I felt this big gap in my life. I felt almost like, well, what the fuck do I do now? And I was just sat there just like making money by doing nothing. And I know that sounds great and it sounds like bullshit, but it's, I fucking know it. And I had to fill that gap with a new goal in my health and in my wealth. So take this advice for what you will, if you're like 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, trying to make money online. But the key thing here is you can really have anything you want. And I know this sounds crazy and I know I look fucking crazy, but I promise you, I was just like you. There is no difference. I was born in a really, like if you type in worst towns in the UK, I think mine's like number 2. It's called Grimsby. It's shit. No entrepreneurs, no role models. I didn't have any advantages. Yes, like I was not homeless, to be clear. I had an incredible childhood. I was brought up by a single mother that did absolutely everything for me. Incredible. And my grandparents were amazing at bringing me up as well. But I didn't grow up with any gifts, any fucking advantages. I bring this up to you because it's very easy to compare yourself to other people and think that they have something you don't, but you're just looking at the end result of the work. You're not looking at the work. This has took me 4 years, and I know 3-4 years, and you might look at that and go, oh, well, that's still incredibly quick. It absolutely is. But you didn't see for those 3 or 4 years me working every fucking day. Wake up, work, gym, sleep. Wake up, work. I still do it now. Not because I have to, but because I want to, because I love the game. Because when you create so much momentum and you realize you get so much fulfillment out of those things, the outcome no longer becomes the result. The outcome no longer becomes the goal. The work becomes the goal. The outcome, the tangible goals that you set, $1 million a month, 6-pack, these are just quantifiable ways of showing that you've grown. You can't look at each day through the lens of like, did I grow, yes or no? It's kind of hard for you to do that. It's an inquantifiable thing you can measure or you can't measure. The best way of doing it is by having quantifiable lagging indicators that measure your success. For example, for me in my health, it's my weight. My weekly physique check-ins, when I do videos, send them to my performance coach. My business, it's revenue, it's retention, it's our NPS surveys that tell us how happy our clients are. So take this for what you will. Complete fucking rant, bit of a different video, but yeah, peace.